Tigers practice Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. Media not allowed to attend. They were back on the practice field on Monday. The most important thing I can tell you from Saturday's scrimmage is there were no injuries. As I was told, no significant injury whatsoever to any starter, second team, or rotational platoon guy. So first and foremost, that's what you want coming out of any type of scrimmage or practice less than 2 weeks from the opener. So the Tigers got that. After Saturday's scrimmage, Tigers had a recovery day on Sunday, and then they were back on the practice field Monday. We, media, got to watch about 15 minutes of practice. And normally 15 minutes, especially at the beginning, you just don't see very much. It's a lot of, individual group work, calisthenics, just loosening up a little bit. This, however, was very eventful, 15 minutes, not because of all they did, but because of what we saw. And I want to dive into this as we start here. I will tell you there has been a change. We were supposed to get practice access Tuesday and meet Brian Kelly afterwards. That was going to be the end of our availability. They've changed that. We will not have access Tuesday. We will talk to Brian Kelly. We will not have access Thursday or Friday. But they are going to let us watch Saturday night at 7:30 in Tiger Stadium, which is wild to think that we're going to get to watch this team scrimmage a week before the opener. So I'm pumped about it. It's a big change for tomorrow, but it'll be great for Saturday. We'll look forward to it. Monday, however, there was a really, right when we walk in the doors, and they're at the indoor facility, helmet, shoulder pads, girdles, so they were not in full pads. So really intense scrimmage on Saturday, recovery day Sunday. They were back at it Monday, helmet, shoulder pads in the indoor. And right when we walk in, they start the practice customarily with an offensive ready period, is what Joe Sloan calls it. And it's just they're running a no-huddle, almost like hurry-up, no-huddle drill, just on the ball, go, 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 just a tempo period against air. And the first thing that you notice is there was a change on the offensive line. And the five-star freshman, Carius Curne, was running first-team right tackle. Now, I want to remind you that Curne was the five-star number one interior offensive lineman in the country. He showed up in spring ball and was immediately working as the second-team left tackle. Now, this is a guy that's listed at 6'5", 320, and can do a backflip. So if you're worried about the athleticism, the athletic ability to play tackle, I don't think they're worried about that. I think he's got plenty of it. But this is the first time that we have seen him play on the right side. So here you are less than 2 weeks from the opener, and a true freshman is getting reps the first team at right tackle. Now, they ran that hurry-up period. Then they had a scout look. So it was the first offense against a scout look defense. And Curne ran a few plays with the ones, and then Weston Davis rotated in and finished with the ones. For what it's worth, Davis was running with the twos in that no-huddle period. So I don't know that we should read too much into this, but it does affirm something Brian Kelly told us on Friday. Remember, I asked Brian Kelly because there's been a lot of rotation in this fall camp. And I asked him on Friday, is there a point where you start to name starters and pare down the reps? Because typically you want there to be competition, then you identify your starters, you want your starters to get all the reps. So I asked him, are you going to name starters and start to pare this down?
No, I want to continue the competition. I think it brings out the best in everybody, and some of our areas of concern last year were that we didn't have any depth and we didn't have that competition and we couldn't keep the, a sharpness, if you will. And so we're going to continue to keep the reps in a manner that allows competition for all players.
True to his word. The first time we got to look at him after that comment, they're out there with a new starting offensive line. I don't know that I'm going to read too much into this. It could very well be they just want to get Curne reps on the right side as a platoon in case if someone goes down, they have to shift, that he's actually taking reps on the right side. Maybe Curne is the sixth lineman, like he'd be the first tackle to go in if something happened. I don't know. We'll have an opportunity to talk to Brian Kelly on Tuesday, and I can ask him that question. But that competition and rotation is clearly still happening. And I also want to remind you, a little more than a week ago, we spoke to Joe Sloan. I believe it was Friday before last. And I asked Sloan, to give an assessment of the offensive line. I left it intentionally very open-ended. I said, give me your assessment of the offensive line. This is what he said.
Obviously, have a lot of competition at guard. And I think you're seeing flashes of different guys daily who are playing really well. I think our tackles, the two guys coming into spring, where those two guys are going to be first-year starters, and I think definitely when you watch, they have been excellent. Excellent in terms of their growth, right? They got to keep coming. They got to get better every day. But I've been really pleased with what they've done. And I think Braylon's played extremely good at center, and I think we have a couple other guys who could, we have some depth at center, which is nice. And then I think, you see some of the young guys who are now starting to come on. I think this is the second half of camp where you'd like to see some of the freshmen or second-year players start to push and take that next step and challenge some of the guys that maybe are in front of them right now.
I mean, that is a pretty all-encompassing bite, no? He said there's competition to guards. Braylon established himself at center, and some of the younger guys are pushing here in the second half of camp. True to form, there's Carius Curne. What's interesting is he talked about the tackles. He's like, the tackles have been excellent in their growth. And up until this point, we had only seen Tyree Adams at left and Weston Davis at right. It really felt like three of those jobs were solidified, and here you are less than 2 weeks before the opener, and there might be a little bit of a shakeup. So something we'll ask about and we'll watch as we move through this week, the final week before they are into game week for Clemson. A couple of other tidbits from Monday's workout. Nussmeier has ditched the sleeve on his left knee. You'll all be very pleased to know. He was out there in tights, though, purple tights, but no sleeve on the left knee. Apparently the patellar tendonitis that is the aggravation, or as Kelly said, he pissed it off. Apparently it's no longer pissed off. That's good. Obviously of note, when we looked at the defense, there was no Harold Perkins. I was told after practice it is not injury-related. I was not given an explanation, only that it is not injury-related. But Perkins was not there today, and that's obviously notable. Jordan Gilbert replaced him with the first team at star. Also, Whit Weeks was there, but was not participating. He was in a helmet, jersey, athletic shorts, gym shorts, and tennis shoes. So whenever the first team defense was going, first team defense against a scout offense, he was standing back at the goal line, basically looking at the back of the defense, taking, I guess, mental reps with his helmet on, but was not participating. Brian Kelly said last week, load management for guys like Nuss and in Weeks. I'm not going to have him practice 5 days in a row, he said. So you want to give him a day off? Fine. Just have him ready to go against Clemson. Michael Van Buren had on his throwing hand, had his index finger and his middle finger taped together. Again, we didn't get to speak to anybody, so no explanation given. But Colin Hurley, Michael Van Buren. If you combined him, you get Colin Van Hurley. But Colin Hurley took the reps with the twos. And anything else? This was how the first defense lined up, for whatever it's worth. And this changes so fluidly. But today, when they went first team defense against a scout offense, look, this was your first team defense. Your tackles were Dom McKinley and Jacobian Guillory. Your ends were Jack Pyburn and Gabe Relaford. Your linebackers were West Weeks and Devon Keys, obviously with no Whit. Jordan Gilbert was at the star. Your first-team corners were Mansour Delane and P.J. Woodland. And then your safeties were A.J. Halsey and Tamarcus Cooley. Your second defense was on the interior, Ahmad Bro and Bernard Gooden. Your ends were Jamari Butler and Patrick Payton. Your linebackers were Zach Weeks and Tylen Singleton. CJ Jim Coyley was at star. He wears number 31. He is a unit. Wait until you, I get he's a freshman. He's not going to play much. But wait until you see 31 in the uniform. You're going to be impressed. Your corners were DJ Pickett and Ashton Stamps. And then your safeties were Deshaun Spears and Javen Toviano with the twos. So, and that could have been completely different the next time they went team period, because we've seen so much rotation when they've gone, first 11 on defense. They've rotated so fluidly and so freely, but that's how it lined up today. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.